T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Let's get ready to sucker!
Diamonds in my teeth, I got a lot of shine. Running up the number, that's a lot of crime. Try to take it from me, must be out your mind. I'm big time, lot of slime. Smoky in the air, that's a lot of pine. Pockets running over with the dollar sign. Try to take it from me, yeah. Big time, big time, big time, big time. Running up the numbers, that's a lot of crime. Try to take it from me, must be out your mind. Lot of signs, smoky in the air, that's a lot of crime. Pockets running over with the dollar signs. Try to take it from me. Big time. I got a lot of shine. Running up the numbers, that's a lot of grind. Try to take it from me, must be out your mind. I'm big time, lot of shine. Smoky in the air, that's a lot of crime. Pockets running over with the dollar sign. Try to take it from me, from me, from me, from me. Big time, number 9. Diamonds in my teeth, I got a lot of shine. Running up the numbers, that's a lot of grind. Try and take it from me, must be out your mind.
And welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to a Wednesday edition of the YSN Power Hour. DJ Yoakley here. We got Quinn in the middle, Scotty back in the studio in HQ. We got Billy, and we've got Muncie live on location still at Lake Erie. Frustrated, but gentlemen, we have a bunch of crap when it comes to the everyday celebration today. I'll let you go ahead and pick it because they are slim pickings today. National Burnt Ends Day, as you can see. Wait a minute, that's split ends. Never mind. What is burnt end? Is it like the end of like a I don't know, like something we would have at G. Burbick Farms or whatever that is? Is that a burn end?
I don't know.
All right. The other option is National Acne Positivity Day.
I'm not 16 anymore.
National Chicken Boys Day.
Chicken Boys?
I had no clue, man. National No Rhyme Nor Reason Day. National World Letter Writing Day. And National Global Talent Acquisition Day.
Does anybody even know how to write a letter anymore? Like, do kids even understand cursive?
I was just going to ask you, when was the last letter you actually wrote to someone? Not typed, physically wrote out and mailed to someone.
Wow.
I'm telling you, it might be a decade.
Yeah, it probably would have. It probably wasn't out when I was in college. I might have, handwritten letter for recommendation or something like that. I mean, but
And that's
even
not
then,
good, right? That like things I
No,
want to do,
because-
but just, there's no time to do it.
Well, why would I write a letter now? I can just email it instantly.
text.
Just
It
there,
makes
or
it more
text message.
personal, right? It's a little bit more personal when you see
Yeah,
handwriting
I'm
in your
out.
name. You don't write like Christmas cards to your athletes, Billy?
No.
I mean, I'm looking over at Amos' comment. His wife made him write thank you letters for their wedding, so 2 years ago. But I mean, even then, like, I was told my handwriting's so terrible, all I was allowed to do was sign my name. So
That's all I did was sign my name. I felt like John Cena in an autograph session, just DJ, 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 DJ. That was it. I think the last actual letter I wrote, I gave to my in-laws the night before our wedding, just as a kind of.
Help! 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 911.
Dial it up. Paul's kids are in trouble.
yeah,
I just put Amber on the swing and sent her high, and she's spinning in circles.
there you go.
Not
Second.
now, damn it!
Yeah,
Well, Paul, I think we just got another play-by-play.
there you go. It's like an echo machine. It's like one big room
We
here.
can hear everything you guys do there.
Oh, I know. Carrie was rewatching the show last night, and I was like, my God, you can hear if they open up a bag of chips.
You get mad at me when I mute you, but that's why I mute you, because
No, I
somebody's
don't.
talking and I hear that noise, the dog.
The dog, yeah, clicking around. Yeah, it's annoying. Trust me, he was a pain in the ass to ride up here with.
Scotty, Scotty, have you ever wanted to mail a letter to somebody? Is there any intent for you to ever want to mail a letter to anybody nowadays?
Not really. I mean, the last time I can think about even writing a letter, guys, I was probably in 5th or 6th grade, and I had a crush on this girl. Her name was Ashley Rosa, so there's a name drop for you.
Look her up.
And I wrote her a letter requesting if she would like to be my Valentine, because it was Valentine's Day, but it didn't go over too well. She
Aw.
picked somebody else.
That's
Bitch.
That's kind of a painful memory, but
way to
at
bring
least
it up.
I gave it a shot.
I have a handwritten letter from you, a thank you note from Christmas, I think, or maybe a birthday. I can't remember what it was. One of the two.
Yeah, I forgot about that, but you're right. I think I did write you a letter.
You did. It's still hanging today, buddy. I'll never take that one down. Quinn, how about you?
I couldn't tell you the last time I wrote a note, if I ever even wrote one. I mean, the majority of my life has been cell phones and stuff, so anything I can possibly think of writing, I just texted. I don't think I've ever written one.
You've never written a letter?
I don't think I have. I really don't think I have. I don't exactly have. Well, I do now, but I didn't back then have neat handwriting.
Billy? I'm afraid of this one.
I can't remember if I've even ever have.
No way.
But I really can't. I mean, probably in school at some point, like when I was in middle school or something. But I can't remember outside of something like that. I remember Quinn said note. I remember the handwriting, passing notes in class and things like that. But outside of that, on an outside of school event, no. I can't remember if I ever have.
You didn't have a
I
pen pal or
probably
anybody?
have. Oh, no.
Crazy. We were required to have pen pals when we were younger. Now mine didn't last long because I think I wrote one letter. I was like, this is stupid. But
I've seen the writing on the wall, how stupid it was, so I didn't have one.
there you go. That's why you're the visionary of YSN.
Pun intended, writing on the wall.
Don't do it.
And Quinn just texted the wall. All right, here is your Would You Rather presented by our friends over at Baird Brothers. Visit them on the web at bairdbrothers.com or on in Canfield. You can visit their warehouse there and check out their store. This is a one that's really appropriate, guys, because we're kind of right in the middle now as temperatures start to drop a little bit. Would you rather play a sport in 40-degree weather or 90-degree weather? 40 degrees or 90 degrees. Don't give me this BS about, I'd love to play and it's 60. That'd be an optimal temperature. No, it's 40 or 90. No ifs, ands, or buts. Which one would you rather play and why? Quinn, go ahead.
40, 100%. I mean, that just reminds me, like, as you were saying, that I had a picture in my head of playing snow football in the backyard way back when I was athletic and didn't have the fear of breaking an ankle every 10 seconds. So 40 degrees.
Scotty, how about you?
I would have to go with the 90-degree weather. I don't get people, especially like being from this area, the Youngstown area, and Northeast Ohio. I don't get when people complain about like, oh, it's too hot today and blah blah blah, because I feel like we only get so many sunny days out of the year to begin with, and I'm not a fan of the cold. More specifically the snow, because it gets all on my wheels, and that it's like a 15-minute process to clean them off. So I take the 90-degree weather.
All right, Billy.
What sport are we talking about here?
Any.
It changes, because if it's baseball, I'd rather play in 90-degree weather. But if we're talking just fall season football, I'd go 40 degrees. I don't want to deal with the cramping issues and the overheating and the all the bad things that come with the heat for football. I'll take the 40 degrees. In fact, I'll go even colder. I'll play in 25-degree weather. That means playoff football for me. So
you're going 40 degrees.
Yep.
All right. B-Max is 40 degrees. Not a fan of the heat. Paul?
Mine's going to be even different. Like Billy was trying to like pick a sport. Mine is am I the starter or am I one of the guys sitting on the bench? Because
if I'm
the starter, if I'm the starter, then I pick 40 degrees because you're constantly moving. You're moving around. Your body heats up there. Like you can. I don't mind that. But if I'm one of the guys on the bench, I'll take 90 degrees because it sucks to sit there and it's 40 degrees and you're freezing your ass off and you're not even getting in the game. So yeah, no doubt about it. If I'm a starter, I'll take 40 degrees. That's not bad. I like it.
And what's the situation at 90 degrees if you're on the bench?
Well, then, it's at least a little better than, hey, I'd rather be a little hot and sweating on the bench. At least you're in the shade probably than sitting there freezing your ass off on the bench. Because trust me, like my freshman year, like they dressed freshmen. We were one of the first freshmen that were allowed to dress for football. And then the back end of the season, you're freezing your ass off because you weren't getting in the game. We had a really good team back then. So you weren't playing, but you had to dress. And boy, you froze your ass off. You tried to get as many guys into a little circle as you could and just stand there and say, oh, yay. Whereas if it's 90 degrees, you're just sitting on a bench. Yeah, it sucks. You're hot, but it's okay.
I anticipated
I don't mind the sweat.
I anticipated that one. So kudos to you, Billy. I did not anticipate someone saying, "Am I playing or am I sitting?"
Yeah, one of these days you're gonna have to come on here and be like, "All right, would you rather?" And it's gonna be like an 8-minute like. All right, there's the question. Now you ain't got no outs, Paul.
I said 40 degrees. I said 40. Billy wanted to preface sport. I want to say whether I'm playing or not. And if I'm playing, I'm going to say 40 degrees.
But if I'm sitting at 92 degrees Fahrenheit, I would rather be sitting under the luxury of a dugout.
Damn right. Damn right.
You guys play in 40-degree weather at South Range in baseball.
And it sucks. I had a kid one time tell me he wasn't going in the game. I told this kid, "You're going into left field." He goes, "No, I'm good." And I'm like, what? And he goes, no, I'm good. It's cold. I'm not going out there. I went, no.
I'm not going out there to third base. That's you this game.
You guys have jackets. I mean, I've seen them. They're burgundy and gold. They're beautiful. They say South Range on them. You can wear your stocking caps. Like,
no.
I remember being out there in 30 degrees when it's snowing when I was in high school and getting pegged between the 3 and the 1 on my uniform, by the way. That's the worst.
Hey, I mean, we were down at Scene Park. It was a night game. Kid told me he wasn't going in. Said no. Flat out told me I'm not going in. It's too cold. I was shocked. Needless to say, he didn't play for the next 2 games, no matter what. But, like, it was too cold.
Coach power.
Damn straight. And when Mom bitched at me, I said, hey, did you ask your son if I told him he could go in or not? After she asked her son, she came back and said, I apologize. I didn't know that he was allowed to go in. Like, yeah.
Gosh. That has been your Would You Rather or Would You Rather brought to you by Baird Brothers, Fine Hardwoods in Canfield. Thanks again to Scott and the crew for their sponsorship, their support, and everlasting support of YSN, including the Power Hour. Gentlemen, lots of stuff to talk about, but Paul, I think we got Jeff with the Yankee update. We got Billy with the Padre update. I think you're the Bishop Sycamore update at this point, because I know that you haven't taken your nose away from that phone when it comes to Bishop Sycamore, and it just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. One thing I want to enlighten everyone about, Bishop Sycamore coaches now, much like Emmitt Smith, do not do interviews without getting paid for them. So there's that. Very interesting. What do they have to say that's going to shed light on the situation that has, well, maybe I shouldn't say that because it seems like every hour something new comes out. Paul, what's the situation with Bishop Sycamore?
The most recent one I was looking up, and you're right, I've still been like going down this rabbit hole, was players, former players and current players were talking about, like, when they've had to go on a road trip to play somebody, they had hotels to stay in, and supposedly the school was going to pay for it. And when the one dad took his son on to this game, and it was like it was weird. The way they described it was turned out to be a camp at first, then it turned into being a game at the end of the camp. He got a bill for $2,500 for his hotel because the school said they didn't pay for it. Some of the current and former players were talking about they described it as sort of like a YMCA-esque type building down in Columbus. They weren't given food. They were allowed to stay in this place, but they said they literally would go to Kroger or Myers and they would steal food so they could have something to eat because they didn't have anything to eat. One of the former players is, again, another Youngstown connection. He's on Youngstown State's football team. There is a kid who played for this Bishop Sycamore. He's on YSU's football team right now as a current player. And, I mean, it's just – you start reading these stories and, like, again, they've had another 3 teams drop them. So, I mean, they're probably not even going to play a game the rest of this year because everybody's kind of figuring out who they are. But it's just the more you start reading, the more you're like, what the hell is going on and how did they get away with this for the last couple years? I mean, I guess maybe during the COVID year, you could maybe say a lot of crazy shit could have went on and maybe people weren't paying attention. But, like, they say they started in 2019. So what happened that year? Like, did people just kind of like, oh, yeah, great, they're out of this? They had a different name, too. They were a different school. And then they changed their name to Bishop Sycamore. And, I mean, the only cool thing I can say is they have a pretty badass logo. They're called the Centurions, and it's like an old gladiator-looking mask.
Yeah,
and
some of those stories you were telling me yesterday about the locker room speech. Yikes! Oh,
that was insane. Who was it? It was Steve Gilmartin. I'm pretty sure it was Steve Gilmartin. Sent me a text of like the Twitter stuff that this one guy is. I'm sorry, it was Anthony Malone from Poland, our Poland announcer. There's a guy on Twitter who his whole feed is about the Sycamores. And the one pregame speech this guy said was, I mean,
don't repeat
I won't repeat it on here, but like it was insane. Like, and he clearly was yelling it to these kids and like turned around and they all ran out of the locker room. And I'm like, he's encouraging these kids to go do very malicious things on the field.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the stuff that you were telling me about yesterday offline was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. So my question to you guys is: all of this stuff that's happening, do you think we're going to see more cases of of this out there, where there is or are? I don't want to call it a fake high school because that's not what it is. It's
not even a high school. It's
non-accredited, I guess, right?
No. It's not accredited. OHSAA doesn't even recognize them as a team.
That's my first.
It's almost like they're a club sport.
Yeah, that's my first red flag. Is when they weren't OHSAA accredited. Why didn't or OHSAA affiliated? I should say. Why didn't nobody say, well, wait a minute?
Well,
Why?
that doesn't necessarily matter because IMG isn't technically affiliated with their school.
But
their national
and they have
their national
schools.
team isn't.
No, they have. They can a national team be affiliated with a
No.
governing body? No.
No.
But that's not a national team.
Well, they claim they are. That's probably why.
Then why are they playing Akron Hoban and Warren G. Harding?
Oh, they were scheduled to play St. Ed's too.
Yeah, St. Ed's. I mean, why? They're a national team. They're playing teams like IMG. They're playing. I can't
Right,
remember.
because St. Ed's, Hoban, some of those schools are better than some of those national teams.
I mean, you can play.
Hoban played in week 1, didn't they?
Yeah, 38-0 or something like that.
What do you do?
Just beat them up.
Pretty much. I mean, Hoban's 0-1 on the year because it didn't count.
I mean, and there's jokes like all over the place too. I mean, with different people. I mean, that some people are comparing it to the whole, pay for schools scheme that was going on with a lot of the actors and actresses and stuff. And I saw one picture they put up, the one actress, like she's the director of admissions for Bishop Sycamore, and I'm like, oh, this is just great.
Spire, that's another team, but what ball went on that team?
LaMelo?
Yeah.
The one that plays for the Hornets right now?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. There's teams that are not OHSAA affiliated. Good for you. But it's one of those situations like they're supposed to be playing national teams. This is a national thing. You're not supposed to play Akron Hoban. You're not supposed to play East Palestine or South. Like you're supposed to be playing.
Those national teams play. They play IMG will play local teams as well. And even their national team will play teams in the state of Florida that are affiliated with their version of the Ohio Athletic Association.
But like
it's not all. Every game's not a national where you're traveling across the country to play.
I think the reason they do that is so they could actually play teams like Bishop Gorman from Vegas, so that IMG can do that.
That's
stuff
the
like
one
that.
I was looking for.
Like they can go play Mater Dei and other schools like that if they're not, in this case, OSHA affiliated. Because I think OSHA says you can't travel more than one state away to play. So if you're not affiliated with it, you can play teams from California or whoever.
Well, they have to be sanctioned. Now they have to be sanctioned because we've got to fill that paperwork out now to go down south. Like if that tournament's not a sanctioned tournament, then you can't travel outside the surrounding states that are on there.
But sanctioned in the NFHS, though. That's the sanction.
Yeah, NFHS. If it's got NFHS on it, you're good.
Are we going to see more teams like this? Or are we going to see more situations where more Bishop Sycamores pop up across the country and they're like, oh, or do you think now if you are a Bishop Sycamore and this has garnered so much attention on the national level, not just here locally and in Ohio, but on the national level, do you think you just kind of go, oh boy, we got to rethink this real quick? How do we get accreditation?
Can I use the old saying, there's no such thing as bad PR? There's no, bad PR, but no such thing as bad press?
Yeah, I think this is bad.
I'm sure there's a bunch of schools out there that are like that are doing stuff like that. They just don't decide to play one of the top teams in the country. They don't play some turd down the street and have a chance. They don't go playing, IMG.
Does this give prep schools a black eye here?
No.
You don't think?
Most prep schools are on the up and up.
Prep schools are a whole different world. You don't see people calling up saying, I want to go play IMG. You just don't.
That's what I'm saying. That was my original point, was like
Right.
everybody's blaming this team for stepping up and saying, I'll play them. But I don't see a line of people lined up to play IMG. Because, I mean, if a group of 19-year-olds gets whooped 51-0, what are they going to do to a bunch of 16, 17, and 18s?
Aren't some of these kids like 20-something?
I'm just guessing 19. They said they were a year out of school, which puts them at 19.
Yeah, and some of them
I saw
attended
like
man.
JUCOs.
even a local team, Harding, beat them up last year pretty good. I think it was like 38-6 or something of that realm.
Pants.
Like it's not knocking like Harding. It's just at the end of the day, like Harding ain't IMG.
But even IMG, and there was a weather delay in there. Like, I keep getting this vision in my head that during the weather delay, the announcers, like what we would do is if we saw a game like that happening and there was a weather delay, we'd be all over it. Like trying to find out where these cats are from, why they're, that's ESPN. We're just YSN. They're sitting there like, why are we doing this game? These guys are getting stomped and it's not even close. Like, what is the national recognition of Bishop Sycamore? And what the hell is going on down there? Because I can't imagine that it was hunky-dory down there before the game. Like if
And they refused the continuous clock.
yeah, you're trading off pants and helmets. Like something's wrong.
St. Ed still has them on their schedule. St. Ed, St. Thomas, and St. Francis Academy have still yet to drop them.
St.
But
Thomas
like,
Aquinas?
no,
Okay.
St. Thomas More.
Okay.
It says in St. Francis Academy are still on its schedule. The other schools
St.
did
Francis from
drop them.
Toledo?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't say exactly which one, but like the DeMathia Catholic, Duncanville, Liberty, and Johnson Central all decided to cancel their games with them.
So if it's St. Francis from Toledo, Bruce Gradkowski is their coach. And the only reason I know that is when we went to Toledo, he's a Toledo grad.
St. Francis Academy, wherever they're from.
I'm pretty sure that's Toledo. And that is like JFK. That's like their size.
I doubt St. Ed's will drop them until Ed's gets a team. Because, I mean, they need to replace that game.
But it doesn't count anyway. What does it matter if you drop them?
You can
The
drop
St.
them.
Francis Academy is the one out of Maryland.
Okay. I was getting kind of excited because that's a small school.
I see BMAC just clicked that, but it's crazy. There's St. Francis School, which is in Gates Mills, Ohio, and then there's St. Francis Academy in Baltimore.
How many schools are in Gates Mills?
Like at least five.
Gilmore's at too.
Yeah, there's 5 of them up there. Gates Mills, Hawken, Gates Mills,
Gilmore Academy.
Gilmore Academy's up there. There's a bunch. But yeah, this is it just gets more interesting and interesting every day because again, the guy, this Andre, what's his name? Andre Peterson is still standing by that this is legit. He keeps saying, this is legit, and that Andre Peterson, the kid from Youngstown State, he keeps pushing back that this was a scam. He goes, these kids are going to school. He goes, if this is a scam and the kids aren't going to school and not doing what they're supposed to do, then I'm literally scamming myself and, more importantly, hurting my son and throwing his future away in the garbage can.
Yes.
I mean, you have the right to raise your child the way you want to.
Yes, Coach. Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
Thomas Aquinas.
Yeah, they're huge down there.
They're top 10 in the country, I think, right now.
We're gonna take a break. When we come back, you know who opens up tomorrow? Anybody have any ideas who opens up tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might be a team. I just mentioned the couple people there.
Yeah, let's give them some positive love. We're going to talk Youngstown State football when we return on the YSN Power Hour, presented by these sponsors. And don't forget about the Joe Dickey Electric. What's your spark? I'm sure Scotty's got some sparks up his sleeve today. He usually brings it home when we end the show. But Scotty, we're going to get your thoughts on what to expect from YSU. We want to hear from you as well. Chime in on the chat as well as anywhere on the web. Paul's shaking his head. Something else must have happened.
Well, this St. Francis Academy out of Maryland, they're like IMG. They have a national team, and then they have a varsity football team that plays Maryland, New Jersey stuff. This is their national team. I mean, just some of these names pop out at you that they're playing. St. Thomas Aquinas out of Florida, St. Joseph Regional, De La Salle out of California. They play St. Thomas More, and then they also play IMG, obviously out of Florida, and Bishop Sycamore is on their schedule. Like, you're playing national powerhouses, and you have this make-believe school on your schedule, on your national schedule. Like, this, credit to this Bishop Sycamore, man. They've pulled something out of the hat, and people are believing what they got going on. So,
I mean, I got to imagine they're getting some kind of payment for these games, right? They're splitting some of the rev share or something along those lines. So,
God bless them.
Good marketing from Bishop Sycamore. We'll see if they can roll it up at the end of the year and see if they can, or if everything's null and void. We'll find out, I guess, as this story continues. We'll be back right after this on the YSN Power Hour.
We are there in your community. Small business owners, mechanics, police officers, homemakers. And we are there serving our nation in the Air Force Reserve. When medical emergencies arise, in cybersecurity, when natural disasters happen, we are there in space. We are Reserve Citizen Airmen, and we are there with over 180 different jobs to serve your country. Air Force Reserve.
Working with your family can be stressful at times, but because they're family, you know that you're going to get a loving, honest answer, even when things don't make sense to any problem. Dealing with Medicare can be confusing and overwhelming. That's why here at Myers Family Insurance, we do our best to give you honest and caring answers to all of your questions. Family, like Medicare, isn't always perfect, but when you put others first, the results can be amazing.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance.
Come see one of the Valley's hidden gems. The Back Nine Bar and Grill on the Berlin Lake Golf Club is the perfect place for fellowship, fame, food, and fun. Check out our daily specials and ask about memberships. The Back Nine Bar and Grill on Hartzell Road in North Benton. And welcome back to...
My dog over here. He just got done eating.
All right. Welcome back to the YSN Power Hour.
Mr. Magoo has called for an investigation into the Bishop Sycamore.
Mr. Magoo?
Mr. Magoo, our governor. Yep. And the hits just keep on coming. They stiffed the hotel that they stayed in for that game. They wrote a bad check. $3,600 in hotel room fees, along with $250 of cleanup fees assessed to 3 different rooms. They stiffed the Canton Hotel with. They wrote a bad check.
Just needs to be Paul Munson, because you are so entrenched in this stupid story.
Yeah, they wrote a bad check from a group out of New York. There we go.
Is that your Bishop Sycamore update?
Yeah, we're good.
All right. Youngstown State University kicking off tomorrow night against Incarnate Word. Am I saying that right? Incarnate Word. 7 o'clock. That'll be on ESPN Plus. Or you can head out to the Ice Castle, as we would love to see people head out for the YSU opener, a Thursday night. I like it. I do. I don't know if I'm ready for football. It's weird. We said this in the spring. It didn't feel like football season then. Now it just feels like we turned the page from YSU football, and it's back. So is this the real deal? I mean, Doug Phillips and his troops had a tough spring. Let's just point it out to be what it is, a tough spring, and they start out against Incarnate Word. I guess they score a lot of points, is what I'm hearing. Is YSU ready for this? And do you see them holding their own against Incarnate Word tomorrow at 7 p.m., Quinn?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they were a playoff team last year, I think it was. They score a lot of points, but they also give up a lot of points. I think YSU's defense is really solid this year. I'm excited to see how that goes. But I mean, at the end of the day, you got to put up points to win games, and I don't know who's going to be the quarterback tomorrow. I have a guess, but I'm not sure who it's actually going to be. It's Coach Phillips' decision, obviously. But I mean, I'm excited. I think they have a good shot at winning it, and then get some momentum going into Michigan State next week.
Are you excited about this season for Youngstown State?
Always. I mean, I always am, being an alumni of it and being as close as I was to it and stuff like that. And obviously living in Youngstown, how do you not love Penguin football? But I mean, yeah, it should be a good season, and I'm excited to see what kind of happens. Because I mean, the conference is a gauntlet. It's the toughest conference in the FC by far.
Let's go over their schedule real quick before we get to Scotty. Incarnate Word this week. Then you've got at Michigan State versus Western Illinois, at Northern Iowa versus Missouri State, at Indiana State, again home against South Dakota State, which that'll be nice. And then you go to North Dakota. You're home against North Dakota State, one I'm guaranteeing Quinn will be at, and at Southern Illinois. This is a gauntlet of a schedule, Quinn. A gauntlet.
Yeah.
Scotty, what's your thoughts on Youngstown State this year? Are you excited for some Penguin football?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just hope that, and I think there will be progress. I've liked everything I've heard. I haven't, watched or listened to him religiously, but everything I've heard out of Doug Phillips, I really liked. I think he's all in. And I think it's good that they're playing this tough schedule in year number 2 for him. And it'll feel, not that last year was nice, but just having that spring season, it just didn't feel right to me. I couldn't get fully invested last year for whatever reason. Maybe it was because of COVID too. Even the other sports didn't feel quite right, especially with limited capacity. But I'm excited to see what strides YSU can make this year, and I think it's great that they're going to find out right away what they're made of going up against this pretty brutal schedule.
Billy, your thoughts?
I hope both teams have fun.
Billy's not even going to watch. He's going to be watching Ohio State.
Yes, that would be true.
Paul, go ahead.
I agree with Scotty. Like, the whole spring season of the football that they tried to have just didn't feel right. It didn't feel like college football. I mean, and I like seeing it back when it is right now. I'd love to see YSU get back to how it was, in the early 90s and, late 90s when, the Ice Castle was packed. Now that they've got more capacity over there, and just how it used to be. I had the privilege of being there for a lot of those games because I was in school. And so, Youngstown was buzzing, man. When YSU was a good team, they were giant killers, and they went and did what we had big games there, Alcorn State. You had fun things going on there, and like local guys being there. And that's something I think, coach is getting back to, is getting a lot of those local guys to stay here and stay and play for Youngstown State, to get the community back involved. They're like, hey, listen, we can go watch a kid from Fitch. We can go watch a kid from Boardman or, Springfield or one of these other schools that are one of our local schools. That is what needs to happen, because that's going to get that interest back there. And listen, like, Quinn alluded to earlier, they're playing in, this is one of the toughest 1AA conferences in the country. And, so to be involved in that, listen, you're going to get your butts tested every single week. None of those games are a walkthrough. So, good for them. And I like seeing it. So as being a former alumni myself from YSU, listen, I want to see them win. I want to see them do good, but hey, they got big tests ahead of them, so good for them.
Yeah, I'm excited for Youngstown State to be back in football, and obviously this is the first real test. This is the first real season for Doug Phillips. I mean, you can count last spring if you'd like to. I tend not to because of what it was, and that was just it wasn't right. It just didn't feel right. It didn't have the right taste. Didn't have the right temperature, things of that nature. So I'm not counting it. You can if you'd like to, but I think this is the first real opportunity for Coach Phillips to shine. We know how he is as a leader. He's a great leader. He's a Tressel guy. You know, a guy that Coach Tressel loves, adores, and wants him to be the next generation of leadership here in Youngstown. So I think that it's a great opportunity for him. You wonder if he's got the horses. You know, you wonder. We don't know who's going to be quarterback. That's going to be kept hush up until game time, I think. So it's going to be interesting. I think this is going to be an interesting year. Does Youngstown State have a lot to prove? They do. But I think with some of these guys from Grit City, Paul, like you were saying and alluding to, they know who they're representing. They know what that block Y represents on each side of their helmet, and I think they're going to go out there and defend it. So I'm excited to see this team. Steve Leslie, one of the voices, Bob Hannon as well of the Penguins. So it's going to be nice to listen to them as that game goes on, and it'll be right after our show. We might make an appearance. I mean, who knows? But Billy, he's got his eyes set on what is it called, the Brick House?
Yep, and that's the Brick House in Garrettsville, and they got great burgers.
That's where his eyes are set, so that's where we're going to go right after the show tomorrow. So we're excited. We'll be in Garrettsville with the Garfield G-Men tomorrow. That show starts at 5 o'clock. We're excited to have Garfield welcome us in and have some of their players come over, their coach come over, and talk about the big game up against Warren JFK. So it's a big night on YSN. It'll be a big night across Youngstown because that game, and then Billy, the game I'm sure you do want to talk about, that you don't want both teams to just have fun. Ohio State kicking off. Is this going to be a big year for Buckeyes? Can you see a national championship?
I think if they can figure out their quarterback play, which I'm sure they'll have handled. They got great players back there. Once he settles in, and it's going to be a pretty good year. National championship. I mean, isn't that the expectation every year if you're a Buckeye fan? Like, it almost seems at this point like, hey, the Big Ten's a pretty nice prize, but at the end of the day, we're here to win national championships. That's what it's about, being in the scarlet and gray.
Yeah, I'm interested. Paul, I know you're not. I'm trying to click off you, Billy. Hang on, man. I think my mouse is dying. Do you feel like Ohio State's a favorite for a national championship? Even though, I mean, Alabama lost so much. Mac Jones, number one, obviously, and then Najee Harris. Does Ohio State lead there to be the national favorites to win the championship?
I mean, they're in a conversation. I mean, and listen, even though Alabama lost the guys that they did, Alabama, as much as I despise them, they're always in the conversation because all they do is just reload. You know, they just keep reloading all these other blue chippers year after year after year. Clemson's going to be there too. I mean, Ohio State's in the top three for sure, in my opinion, in the preseason polls, which I can't stand, have them there as well. So, I mean, which is, listen, they do the same thing. They just keep reloading. You know, they're not like rebuilding. It's not a rebuilding year hardly ever at one of these big colleges. It's just keep on bringing the blue chippers in. Let's just keep going, and they're just going to roll. I mean, so but listen, they start off in Minnesota. They should handle business pretty well going to Minnesota, and, you know, we'll see what happens from there. But, yeah, I mean, Ohio State's that perennial powerhouse every year, and they're expected to be. So,
you want to hear their schedule in case you've never seen their schedule? At Minnesota. Obviously, that's tomorrow night, 8 o'clock kickoff. Home against Oregon, which I think could be a challenge. You just never know with them.
No.
Tulsa.
Oregon's down.
Well, they're ranked number 11, so they're not that.
They're not as talented.
I fear that week 4 matchup more than Oregon.
Akron.
Yeah.
Akron.
The AK Rowdy. Surprised it's not at Akron. At Rutgers versus Maryland, at IU, then Penn State, which that one could get tricky. At Nebraska,
home, though, I think, isn't it?
What's that?
Isn't Penn State at home this year?
Yeah, right before Halloween.
They'll be fine.
Yeah, Penn State is Ohio State is at home versus Penn State. Yes. At Nebraska, cakewalk. Versus Purdue, versus Michigan State, and at the team up north. I mean, you make it past Penn State. I mean, I don't want to count out Purdue, but you're pretty easy sailing.
Yeah.
Buckeyes have a hole to fill on defense at linebacker and secondary, says Chris Sigler.
Yeah, but it's why the Ohio State schedule is always pretty easy to go early on in the years. They figure it out by week 5.
It's just what 5-star do you want to put there?
Yeah, I mean the same thing goes for Ohio State as it does for Alabama. Probably not as many guys that we reload, but I mean we're blessed with talent across the board at every position. So,
Scotty, how you feeling about the Buckeyes this year?
I think they're gonna be really good. I think the over/under as far as wins for them was like set at 9 or 10 or something like that. How I don't know the exact number of games they play, but I think you definitely go over. Like you said, DJ, I think the Oregon game will be interesting. I think that could be closer than maybe some people think. From what I've heard about Oregon, I think they have some really good athletes out there. I mean, they always do, and I hear their defense is going to be really improved this year. So that could be closer than people think. But as far as the rest of the Big Ten goes, I mean, let's face it, Ohio State, I mean, they've been the cream of the crop for a while now. I know as far as recruiting goes, like Penn State is up there for the future, but Ohio State's always going to be up there too as far as the recruiting. As far as winning the whole thing, though, I just, I'm not too sure. Like, people have talked about Munson said at Alabama, even though they've lost a lot, they always just reload, and they have the best college coach in the history of college ball in Nick Saban. So I don't know about Ohio State winning it this year, and I think there's still a question mark with C.J. Stroud and their center. But I think they're definitely going to be in the conversation again. Guys, and I want to know maybe what do you think about this? I mean, there's been talk of expansion, but I think it could kind of water college football down, in my opinion. I'd like to see some underdogs get a chance, but we've seen top teams like Oklahoma get blown out in these games already. You expand it, it can make it even worse. Sometimes I think the BCS, but I know that's an unpopular opinion.
Here's my only question, and as I look at this schedule, at noon is when Ohio State plays Oregon. That's our time. So they're playing at 9 a.m. internal body clock time. They going to be able to get up for that game?
Oregon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to get whacked anyway.
That's like a JV freshman game. You know what I mean? That's tough.
They're going to get smacked anyway. It doesn't matter.
But I mean, but getting back to like the preseason rankings, I mean, I'm going through like the top 25 right now. Oregon's number 9. Iowa State's ranked 5th. Not to put the Cyclones down. I mean, they have a pretty good football team, but I mean, to be a preseason top 5,
they were second in the Big 12 last year, and also had like 90% of their starters coming back, and they won their bowl game.
All I hear is blah 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 blah. Florida State isn't in the top 10.
No, listen, I don't expect them to be in the top 50. I mean, listen, they haven't done anything in a while. These things just bother me because then that's how a team like Alabama or like Clemson, like teams that like get preseason ranked number 1. All you got to do then, if you've got a cake schedule, is just manage it. Get through it.
I disagree. Here's why. I'll disagree because those teams rise to the top anyway. They do every year. They blow teams out. They beat the crap out of Notre Dame. It's amazing when that happens. So,
but if you didn't put rankings out there till after week 5. No, start on week 5.
No, you can't. You can't do that.
Why?
You can't do that because are you going to watch Texas Tech at 22 versus Iowa State at 5? You would never watch that if they weren't ranked. But because they're preseason ranked, you would watch that.
Billy, I wouldn't watch that even if they are ranked.
But Billy, if you're one of these college guys,
say, hey, we're gonna sell this game here to advertisers and to people that say, hey, there's 2 top 25 teams playing. You're gonna watch that game.
But that's all it's for. It's about the money. If you really truly wanted to get the top teams out there, you wouldn't rank them till after week 5 because then you sit there. Because if you really think about it, when do they start doing the BCS poll? It's not till week 7 when they start putting them in that aspect. Because then you're sitting there. If you look at predominantly the SEC has at least 5 to 6 teams always in the top 25. Why? So that they can say we've got the best conference in America because look at all these teams that are ranked in the top 25. And then when they start getting waxed, then you're like, oh, well, maybe they weren't as good as their preseason ranking was. Well, no, because their preseason ranked there. Where if you would say, listen, until after week 5, nobody's going to be ranked. Billy, if you're one of these college people who are supposed to be out there ranking, not ranking, but you're part of the BCS community and you were supposed to be putting these teams in order, you're going to be watching Texas A&M play Iowa State.
Are you saying the SEC isn't the best conference in college football?
Well, when you rank them all early, then you're going to say, "Oh yeah, all their teams are the best." I'm not saying they don't have some really good teams there. They do.
Anybody else hear that pregnant pause?
What's a better?
That's all you needed to hear. So let me. Here's a theory. Okay, here's the theory. Isn't the poll sponsored? That starts week 0. Isn't it like the USA Today or whatever?
USA Today Coaches Poll.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing I'm looking at just says college football rankings preseason top 25 for the 2021 season.
I'd be willing.
Does it really
to bet.
matter though?
Well, hear me out.
You're playing for the 4th spot because Clemson, Alabama, and Ohio State are always going to be there.
You're losing the marketing side of this. The USA Today, whatever, or the Chick-fil-A, top 25. That's the point. That's why it starts so early because they can get
700 bowl games.
That has nothing to do with it.
Advertising.
It's advertising. That's what it is, and that's why there's 12 weeks of it. If you're just going to do 3 weeks of it, Paul, it's not as powerful to do that. You can't collect as much money. Remember
that's what it is. Obviously, it's about the money. And Billy hit it on the head too. They can market, hey, number 3 versus number 8 or number 3 versus number 10, in a big matchup on ABC, and let's sell it to the sponsors because these are ranked teams instead of saying, both these teams are unranked, but boy, they're really good.
I would believe that, except for I don't think that there's any revenue left to be made on that. I think all the advertising sold well ahead of time for those matchups. I don't disagree with that because it is a marketing. It's easy just to make the commercial, but I think that the advertising is sold like. Everything for the season is sold now. Like it's done for the year. Kind of like what we do, right?
But certain games get moved time frame. That's the difference in college football, though. So like, if
they don't shift from 8:00 to noon unless you're in the Big Ten because they've made noon marketable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because a lot of them still say TBA on them.
Yeah, but they'll also take that noon game and move it to a prime time at 8:00.
But looking at Ohio State's schedule right now, week 4 against Akron is TBD. Week 5 is TBD. Week 7 is TBD. 8 TBD. 9 TBD. 10 TBD. 11 TBD. The only ones that have slots for Ohio State are Minnesota 8:00, Oregon at noon on Fox, which is their big one, right? That's their noon kickoff that gets all the national attention. 3:30 on FS1 against Tulsa. Going to be hard to sell that game. And then you got noon against Maryland. You've got noon against Michigan. Everything else is shiftable. But the advertising is already – I assume the advertising is already sold for that game.
Yeah, whether it's a noon game or a 4:00 game, 1 o'clock game.
They sell the blocks, so it's like, hey, I want a first quarter and a fourth quarter advertisement, or I want a second quarter and a third quarter, or I want halftime advertisement or post game or whatever that is. That's how they sell it. It doesn't matter when they play necessarily, because wherever Ohio State plays, eyes are going to watch. It's the ones for Tulsa. These Tulsa ads, they want people to watch their advertisements when they play Ohio State because they're hoping that they'll draw people in. Oregon not happy with a noon kick. That's
no shit.
It's 9 o'clock their time. Can you imagine? Like, I remember playing JV football the next day after varsity, played their game at night, and you gotta. And listen, a lot of times JVs don't play, so you got to take off your jersey that's absolutely still crisp and clean, take off all your pads, and then, like, you go home. By the time you get home, it's, 10 o'clock? And if you're on a bus, it's 10:30, 11 o'clock. And then the next day you come – look, what does Oregon got to do? Imagine what they have to do. In a COVID – and people are saying it's not a COVID year. It's still a COVID year. It's still adjustment.
They might be in town – week before the game, you know what I mean? Like they might be in town 3-4 days again before the game starts just to get their bodies acclimated. I can't see them coming in Friday, having walkthroughs on Friday, and then turning around and playing on Saturday. They're probably showing up.
They'll come in on Thursday. They'll come in on Thursday.
I bet they come in on Wednesday.
Well, hold on. I just got Thursday. They're going to be here Thursday.
Coach Dave's got the speed dial.
They'll come in.
Because who do they have the week before? Do they
Fresno
at home?
They have a 70-point win at home.
A 2 o'clock game, which you know why it's a 2 o'clock game.
Yeah, so
they can get out of there faster.
Yeah, so they'll play at 2 on that Saturday. They'll start doing
things 3 hours ahead of time. If they're not leaving, if they're not going to show up till Thursday, everything's going to be on East Coast time on West. Bet Fox doesn't get a Christmas party.
That's what happens when you come play Ohio State. You got to play. You play it at our time. Deal with it.
No, that's a dick move by Fox, is what it is, because they could play at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, they could have the prime game, but I bet there's probably a better game in the evening that Fox is going to throw on too, though.
Oh, Fox has
I think they did that.
You're probably going to have USC play somebody.
When Ohio State went out to play USC, they played it at a 7 o'clock kick for their time.
Well, yeah, I mean,
10
you're
o'clock
not going to play
time.
at noon on the West Coast because that's 3 o'clock here. But this is Fox. Fox gets to dictate what, hey, we want this game and this is when we want it played.
You don't want to play Ohio State at noon, then don't play Ohio State. So
I'm not sure that they want to play Ohio State right now.
Good. Eugene, and don't bother coming across the country.
Well, Quinn, that's the only game you have to win until what, week 12?
Yeah, we don't even have to win that one. Michigan can't beat them, so it don't matter. That's the only other game in the regular season.
Listen, Canfield boy, that's a game that everybody gets up for.
When did Harbaugh beat Ohio State?
He hasn't, but he still gets up for it.
That's not a problem.
Listen, we talked about it before. If there's one game that Michigan wants to win this season.
Fine. I'm more worried about Purdue coming and beating us than Michigan.
Okay.
I've at least seen Purdue beat Ohio State.
That is fair.
You know what time it is, boys? It's Joe Dickey Electric. What's your spark? Brought to you by our friends over at Joe Dickey Electric. Visit them on the web at dickeyelectric.com. Anything commercial, residential, anything electrical, go visit our friends over at Joe Dickey Electric. Paul, you want to go first? You want to lead off things?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay.
It's a positive spark. We have one more day up here at Geneva/Lake Erie, and we're having a good time. Today was a little windy, like 20-mile-an-hour winds. I mean, the waves were coming in pretty hard. So, needless to say, I didn't take my chances in the water today. So, we just enjoyed a little bit of the sunshine and the beach. So, yeah, I mean, hey, we got another day up here. It was great to get away for a little bit, and before the grind starts and things get in full swing. So it was nice. That's my positive spark, being here for last handful of days.
You better be careful because you are borderline turning into Betos with this Geneva thing.
That's where I'm at right now. So
It's turning into. Didn't have to work today. How's it go, Billy?
I have to work today. I play some golf. What?
Play some golf. I'm not hitting him very well. Just be careful. That's all I'm saying. I'm not knocking you. I'm just saying be careful. Don't turn into a Betos on us.
Oh, no. Well, I'm not talking like, oh, I'm sad the weather is the way it is today, or I'm positive because the weather is the way it is today. No, I'm just saying, hey, it's nice to be away and be on like a little mini vacation. So tomorrow could be a whole different thing. Tomorrow's our last day here, so we'll see what happens.
Negative, Spark. He's leaving. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Stamp.
No.
Billy Mack.
I'm actually still very bent out of shape about the theft that occurred to me. I feel violated. And I might hunt somebody down. I might have video evidence of it. So it's a negative
spark. Do you have video?
I might. I will find you.
Paul's in his face. All right.
When you go hunt him down, can you wear the blanket and take the broom?
Have your little staff in your hand.
Billy won Kenobi.
How about getting beat up with a guy wearing a blanket and a broom? How about that?
Quincy.
Negative. Allergies. It's kicking my ass today. I can't see out of my left eye. I feel dumb. More dumb than I normally am.
Scotty.
Okay, I got one positive and one negative, Spark. My positive is that just looking at the Browns roster on paper, and I'm trying not to be too bullish because they could have some injuries and it could all go south. But looking at the roster on paper, you could argue that their weakest position is kicker, and I remember that when their strongest position was kicker when they had Phil Dawson. So that's pretty satisfying as a fan.
The quarterback position is the
my
weakest.
negative sport goes, it just with people that are ignorant, and when I mean ignorant, I mean just don't know about people with disabilities or somebody in a wheelchair, and then they say something really stupid. Like, I'll talk to somebody and they'll be like, oh yeah, man, like, I know it's tough. I know what you're going through. I broke my leg 4 months ago and I had to spend 2 weeks in the chair. It's like, really? You that's what you're gonna say? Like, that's equals, every day sitting in a chair? I don't think it does. Not that I'm not positive, because I am, and one day I will be walking. One day, I'm calling it now. But yeah, I just wish people didn't say stupid things. So that's my negative.
Me too, Scotty. Me too.
Baker stinks.
What?
I had a cough.
Baker stinks.
I'm gonna go with just 3 simple letters, and it's funny because if you mix them around, they're my initials. DYJ. Do your job. That's all we want you to do. That's all that people are expected to do, is do your job. Do your job, because at the end of the day, if you do your job, everybody's job is easier to do, and you can do some special things. But you have to do your job. Do your job. So take that for positive spark, negative spark, whatever the hell you want to, but just do your damn job. That's all I'm asking.
Do it! Do it. Do it.
That is going to wrap things up for us here on the YSN Power Hour. Thanks for hanging out with us for an hour. We appreciate you being around. What the hell was that?
Pigs are flying.
Oh, gosh. That's the last thing I need right now. Happy September, everybody. See you tomorrow.